Good
morning.
morning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Humpday Q&A.
You know what they call this?
Coffee.
Saving the best for last.
It's a sad day for me. I broke my my pen. I broke my I just dropped the tip of it.
What's that? A pen? What are they used for?
Yeah, no, for the remarkable tablet. Yeah, my pen.
Oh no, you broke. Yeah, you broke a serious stylus.
The tip, the rubber thing that goes in the back, like snapped off.
Oh well, as long as it's just a normal stylus.
Yeah, it still works as a normal stylus, but I go to like rub something out and I realize I can't do it. It's really annoying me. So I've claimed warranty because it just broke. Anyway,
I have a really cool one that I got off of Amazon that is not only that,
yeah,
no, also that.
I've seen those as well. Yeah.
These are really, really good.
Is that the one that also extends out?
I don't think so.
Sure, it doesn't like pull out. Oh.
Well, the tip pulls out so you can replace it with a different tip.
Yeah. Anyway, right, let's crack on. I guess we'll jump on to do's and don'ts and get to the questions. So people aren't waiting. Here you go.
All right, don't be an idiot, or we'll make sure you get banned everywhere you can never see Flutter again. Next.
There you go, and have a good time. There you go, simple.
Yes, have a good time.
We can do that. There you go. We'll stick with that. That's fine. Right, my name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader and CTO at Debugging London. You can follow me on Twitter at Debugging London. I'm also on other social media, so you can find me there. There you go. Scott.
I'm Scott. Next. Now, I'm also a Flutter community leader. Everybody go adopt a big black old dog from the shelters. They're left there to die, and it's not right. And I'm also organizer GDG Cleveland, and you come see us at FlutterCon in New York.
I was about to say, we got FlutterCon New York at the end of September, and at the beginning of September, we got Flutter and Friends as well. So
yes,
well, I think we've got a discount.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be at this one next year. I really wish I could. So if you can, don't miss it.
We did lose. Randall was here, but he's disappeared. So I'm sure he'll be back in a second. But in his place right now, we've got Danielle. Hey, Danielle.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm also talking at FlutterCon New York. So come see me too. I think they just announced finally our keynote, who is Eric, talking about the kind of a big anniversary for Flutter. So that's going to be cool. Come see that too. Anyway, I'm Danielle Cox. Yeah. I lead a small team of Flutter engineers working at a company called Ardley. And I'm also the organizer of a group called Flutteristas, which is a group for female and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you want to join that and you qualify, then hit me up somewhere and I'll make sure it happens. So.
And we've also got a John here. John, welcome to the stage.
Yeah, hey everybody, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, sure. So I manage the Flutter community medium. I hang out in Discord and other places answering questions and do Flutter in my spare time, basically. For the last, I don't know.
Still trying to find a way to do
7 years
full time.
6-7 years, yeah.
Well, sooner or later, you'll find a way to get your employer to let you do it full time.
Yeah, we keep trying.
Be persistent. We didn't actually do the question joke. This is strange because Randall wasn't here. So
Randall wasn't here. So
Randall's working on it. He's rebooting.
Put a Q in front of your question.
Yeah.
What happens when you put a Q in front of your question?
You get added to the.
Somebody who's not here right now. Somebody who's not here right now takes it and puts it into a list.
Yep.
And the key here is
we
don't
answer
spam
questions from that list. Yeah, that's
spam,
okay. We didn't say that in do's and don'ts, and that's the biggest don't. Look, here's the way it works. You ask a question, you get put at the bottom of the list. You ask the same question, we put you back at the bottom of the list and take you out of the higher part. So now you just went backward to the back of the line. yes, we will keep doing this all day long.
And
So make sure your question is answered last. Keep asking it.
And for those that don't know, if you need to post a link, we cannot accept links. We don't get the comments or questions coming through, so don't post links. However, what you can do is you can go to this website address. That's just.github.com. You can post your code or whatever else, and then send us a link, and by sending us the hash from the URL at the top of the address bar, and then we can go from there.
Big number. All you show us is the number. Well, and your question.
Hang on a minute. Someone's knocking at the door.
Someone's back.
There you go.
There we go. But what we do with that is we go to GitHub just like you do, and then we slap your number in there, and it shows us your code.
Yeah.
But if you send us the link, YouTube will block the message.
Yeah, and
We'll
it's a
never
tricky
see
one
it.
because and that's a tricky one because when you post it, you see it, so it looks like it went through, but nobody else sees it.
Right.
So yeah, just because you see it doesn't mean it went through.
Randall, we did it with things without you. Sorry, but welcome back.
That's okay. That's okay. Apparently, at the very last second, my earbuds decided that I heard the music just fine, and then you guys started talking. And went, I can't hear you guys. So I had to reboot. So luckily, my M1 Mac reboots pretty quickly, so I was able to.
The sound subsystem on Mac is famous for its reliability.
Oh yeah.
Well,
the thing is, Mac will reboot quickly because there's just not much to it.
Let's not go there. I have so many extra add-ons too. I have Sound Source, I have Loopback, all the Rogue Amoeba stuff. So
and that just helps so much.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm amazed it works.
Actually, it does, and that's the sad part.
yeah, it actually. I can set up an audio breadboard with. What's the name of it? Audio Hijack. It's really fun to be able to like send this channel over here and send that channel over there, and great for podcasting stuff. Well, hi, I'm Randall Schwartz. I am a Google developer expert, one of 10 in the United States for Dart and Flutter, and I also answer a lot of questions on things like Discord, Stack Overflow, Reddit, occasionally Facebook. And what was the other one?
All social medias.
Slack. So everywhere that people are, I'm there to try to help people out with stuff. For this show in particular, though, I am the question magician, which means that I am watching the chat for Q: in front of a message. If I see that, I know that it is for us and not just talking amongst yourselves, because sometimes you do that too. So put Q: in front, and I will pick it out and put it in our queue. Oh, the bad pun every week. And that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm mostly going to be off screen until there's a new slot, because I don't like the layout when there's 5 people on the screen.
A few of us are actually leaving in 45 minutes. So
yeah, so I'll be back. But until then, I'm behind the scenes. So see you.
Also mentioned,
one other thing. Sorry,
we do have a Patreon. So yeah, if you want to donate and help the community and help support everything that we're doing, it's patreon.com/fluttercommunity.
Okay, and that actually, I was going to try to get this in before you did that. Please make sure your questions are Flutter related. I see one right now. I can help them. I can point something out real quick. SE, doing a waveform is, you could possibly do it with Dart.
That's a question we should have. It's fine.
Yeah,
that's a Flutter question. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Right. Should we crack on with the questions as they're coming in?
Anyway, so let's see. Well, okay, we don't want to talk about anything else.
Well, no, we can get to it, right, with a list of everything else.
All right.
Well, unless there's anything else that might come up.
Is there documentation or someone you would recommend to study the block pattern for a large project? They're about to start a new role and have mainly been used to Riverpod until now, and they're using Bloc or Provider.
Very Good Ventures has some pretty good documentation out.
Yeah.
And there's good blog posts as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you would expect so, because Felix works for them, and Felix is the guy who actually made the package.
Right.
Not necessarily came up with the pattern. The pattern existed before, but came up with like this semi-official kind of community adopted package.
Yeah, but Felix is pretty busy these days.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he would have time to do much.
I don't know if I would recommend anything, to be honest, apart from, there's several YouTube videos. I think there was a couple of talks around. There's been several talks around this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Some of them are getting a little old. That'd be the only concern I have. But
find the most recent one, Alex. That's all right.
One thing I can mention, Alex, if I remember correctly, I believe Felix said Qubit was all but deprecated, right?
No.
He said Bloc was being kept up, but Qubit was not.
I think Qubit is the underlying mechanism for Bloc. I don't know. Let's not read the changelog.
Yeah, go to Bloc. Use Bloc, not Qubit.
The thing is, Alex, there's two things here. One is like how to use that library that Felix made, right? And then specifics around the methods and how things work and understanding that. That's one portion of this. The other one is understanding the Bloc pattern and how it applies to your architecture and system. The very first videos will be perfectly fine, right? Like understanding what Bloc is and how you're supposed to use and everything else. That's fine. And then you can find some other content around how you do stuff using the library. But equally, Alex, check out the package, check out the examples from the Bloc package, run the code and try adding stuff and try things out for yourself, and you'll soon learn how it works. It's not complicated.
Well, and bloclibrary.dev has a pretty good learning section to get you started. So I'd say that's a pretty good place to start.
What was that? Bloc
Bloclibrary.dev. Yeah. It's got a whole bunch of tutorials and getting.
Is that actually the official Bloc?
Yeah, the docs. Yep.
I'll pop that in the chat for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about. There you go. All right. What's next? Unless anyone's got anything else to add.
Let me see here. How to update an app icon dynamically, even if the application is closed.
You can't.
No.
I'm going to caveat that. On Android, you can do some subtle things to make it change. So you can do what's called an activity alias in your manifest file with a different icon. And then you have it set to disable. There's an Android enable and you set that to false. And then what happens is in your code, you can actually use the activity manager. I think it's maybe it's application manager. I forget. You can use to enable, disable the particular components. You disable the main activity and enable the alias. And what that does is it will flip the icon for your app inside the user's app bar to a different one. But again, it's not dynamic, right? So you have to have a fixed set of icons in your app that you're using. So to be honest, it's just not worth it. So what you end up wanting to do it depends on what you're doing, but several people have tried to do this kind of thing with white label apps. You're better off just deploying new versions of your app, new builds of your app with different icons. What you could do, to be clear, again, I think I'm going to talk over, I think, a little bit about what your last talk was about, Danielle. But you can, I haven't seen it. Sorry, but I know it's a white labeling. So, but what you can do is you could write a script that actually produces a folder that imports your main library and just uses Flutter launcher icons to generate different icons. So then you could easily do white label versions of the app with different icons, right? You could do that kind of thing with some easy scripting, right? But it's not dynamic, right? It's not while the app is running. But at least it helps you in terms of if that's why you're trying to have different icons for white label purposes. But yeah.
By the way, that doesn't talk over my stuff at all, because remember I'm on web.
Good.
And so we're actually deployed on their site. We're deployed on their site, or not with that site, but with their domain. So so it's actually deployed in a way that it has its own, all that stuff, and I can define certain things going in and get configuration. But what I am wondering is, is there something that could be done with a push notification coming in and then updating it based on that?
He said, so in the chat, yes, based on occasion, we can change right. Initially, we have pre-configured all icons. Yeah, but that, again, to be clear, it only works on Android. I don't know if you can do that on iOS or how you might achieve that on iOS, if it's even at all possible. So
Yeah.
yeah,
but when you get a push notification, if the app's not running, could it do something then to update that, or is that only just going to go to the drawer until you do something?
No, you can. No, you can. So the way you do that is with a data push notification. So the way it works, just to be clear for those people that are trying to do this, let's say you wanted to change the icon based on a push notification. So what you do is you send out what's called a data push. That is just a push with custom fields and not the notification section. Then when the app gets it, it will be delivered to your on background message handler in Dart, and in that code, then you can process it, change the app icon using the native code, and then you do use the local notifications package to actually show the notification to the user, right? So what you're doing basically is, because if basically what happens is if you send a notification with a notification section to it, it'll get displayed immediately by the operating system and will not get into your app code. So that's where you need to send the data push only. But yeah,
and to be clear, that's technically making your app run a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's without knowing why they're dynamically wanting to change it. That's why I was just wondering if that might be a way to let something happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have some code run to make some changes. I'm trying to remember where it was actually. I'm kind of curious. Just.
Which one's the exact question? The one that finally answered, or
yeah, you need to give us context because there's always delay in the chat. So,
I really need to stop making faces because somebody's going to turn it into a meme. No wall.
I'll share this actually in a second. Do you know what? I actually have an example of this. I remember now. I did this about 10, maybe 12 years ago. Hang on. Let's see if I can find this.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay, yeah. So based on the notification, it looks like he's getting an error. I like I said, I was not even positive we were still running, code at the time on that, because that's been updated as Android versions get changed at least.
Okay, you all saw that one, right? Platform method.
Yeah.
I think it means platform method exception.
So madam, you can fix that. Okay. You're doing it wrong. That's why you're doing it wrong. So in your background handler, you can use plugins, but you need to set up the background isolate to be able to use plugins. And that's the bit you're missing. Let me get the information for you for that.
Awesome.
I can't remember where he put his keys.
He tried looking through like years.
The problem is he's got like a case full of keys that he's got to find it in.
I know, right?
Yeah, but he knows exactly the order he has his plushies in. He could reach and grab a plushie without looking.
Yeah. Well,
so let's look at this together because I haven't looked at this. Look, this is look. I'm not joking. I wasn't lying. 11 years ago.
Jeez.
Let's have a look.
Okay, wait. This code is not useful.
It is. It's still. It is. It totally works the same. It hasn't changed. I'm telling you right now, it has not changed.
Madhan, do you know how to write Android in Java, or have you only worked in Kotlin?
It doesn't matter. Just look up the function. It's like you don't need to. There's not a lot of code here. So this is just like the activity code. So you press the button, it changes. App badge. I think this was it. It's a licensed Apache or whatever, so you can just go use it and do whatever you want. So yeah, so it's this kind of thing, right? So you can use, I see it, package. It's the package manager. Sorry, yeah, package info, activity info. Yeah. So basically, where is it? Update activity icon.
Does anything in this use a content provider?
This is what I was looking for. Update badge count. Yeah. So what this is doing down here is the set component enable settings, set component enable settings. This is what you need to do. Yeah. To disable a particular component and enable it. And don't kill the app when you're changing it. And that's it. That's how you do it. And then the next and previous are the names. You can look this up here, but they're the names of the activity aliases. And what I've done here, let me just go back to the original and go to the manifest. And this is how it works. So this is about changing badges. So you can change like a badge on your activity. So here's the normal activity. Is that okay? Is that big enough? Should I make it bigger?
Just a real quick one. You want to make sure to use that Q if a question's for us, because people really do answer each other's questions in chat. So if we don't see a Q, we're assuming that you're answering each other's questions.
So here we go. So this is the way it works. You've got your activity. You have an activity alias. And in this case, the icon is like, this is the count 0. So this is a normal icon. And count 1 uses a different icon for the activity alias. And then count 2, different icon. And you can just, I'm just using counts as a demo, but you can, it doesn't matter whatever reason you want to enable or disable the activity alias, basically. So you're disabling the main activity and enabling the activity alias instead. That's basically how it works. So you're flipping between the various options. And you're basically just changing the entry point of your app with a different icon. That's basically how it works. Anyway, there you go. Codes in the links to the codes in the chat. So go figure it out. Oh, sorry. The thing we mentioned, sorry, nearly forgot. Background plugins. So what you're missing is this. Present. Where's that thing? Is this coming across? Yeah. Make it a bit bigger. So background isolate binary messenger. There's a static method. Where is it? Ensure initialized. So this is literally telling you. You can go find some documentation around this. But basically, what you do is inside that function that you're on background handler, you do background isolate messenger .instance .ensure initialized, and then you pass in service binding .root isolate token as the parameter, and that's it. It will magically set everything up for you. That's how it works. I think there's some documentation around here somewhere for. Yeah, it's not very. I don't know where I've seen it. Like, yeah, but that's how you do it. So I'll put a link to that in the chat so you can find it. But that's the bit that everyone doesn't know that you need to do. And that will initialize the background isolate to handle plugin messages and stuff like that. So you can communicate with plugins. Will it work? Yes. Because your background thing starts up from a service. You would probably need the wake lock permission on Android.
Alrighty.
Just go read the docs, Madame. Go read the docs on Firebase messaging plugin, and I'll tell you all about it.
But then we were so close.
Don't get on with it. Don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely Android code.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, we were so close to having that perfectly solved, and then you had to talk about iOS. All right, how can I implement a search or filter function in Flutter that lets users find and navigate to specific parts like vias an apartment on a city plan, zoom in and show an indicator?
Yeah. There was a follow-up, I think.
That's a lot of Dart backend.
Well, just pick
yes. The plan could be a single page PDF or an image. For example, typing 50 should zoom in on the area labeled 50 on the plan.
Okay. Mohammed, you have screwed yourself. There you go. So PDFs, so the point here is that, sorry, in a nice way, right? like what you need to do to make that happen is you need to go choose a particular point in the image and say that is this label. You have to do that in your own metadata by yourself in your own admission on data entry in the back end. You cannot search down a PDF. It may seem like you cannot. I'm telling you right now, because PDFs, no, you can't. So PDFs,
you can't do it in Flutter, but you can do it.
No, you can't.
AI can do it.
No. it's a failure of the PDF format. That's what I'm getting to. Like you can see 50 on the screen, but actually it can be two separate text entries, 5 and then 0. Right? Like the whole system, the way PDFs work is it does not like lines don't have to be connected into paragraph. Each character is independently placed on the screen, right? Which basically means you cannot search PDFs in that way. The way that they get around it in Adobe is that a whole massive library which works out the positions of content next to other content. And it works out whether you don't want to have to build this. This is not built into any PDF thing library you'll find, right? So I'll tell you right now, you cannot just search PDF. And then if you've got an image, well, you need to do image recognition to find it, right? And then you need to find that. So it just doesn't make any sense, right?
See, and that's the thing that the AI does, though, is the image recognition. And it could, but the 50 has to be labeled on the document. If you don't have a 50 on that document to show it where the area is, it's not going to find anything. And Simon's right, though. You can't do this in straight Flutter.
I mean, you can, but the point is you wouldn't, right? Like you can do all this stuff if you want to. You go write your image recognition library in Dart, right? Like that you can. It doesn't mean you should, right? The point here is if you actually want to. This is like for, let's go back to the first part, which was how can I implement a search filter function in Flutter? Well, I mean, if you go to a few shows ago, in fact, I'll push my gist. I did showing you exactly that, how to build like a search pop-up thing, right? Does anyone remember what we called it?
No.
All right. Well, I'm just going to suggest that you go to my gists and you can go searching for it, right? I'm being lazy, but yeah, the link is in the chat. Anyway, if you go to the gists, you can go find the one with the answer on it.
Question.
Sorry. Then all you're doing is when you're doing your search, you're basically just searching data, right? So you're go through all your data points and going, does it contain like 50, like your example? And then you get the coordinate. And then you can then call a function to like take the Google map or take the image viewer to a certain place, right? That's essentially what you're doing. There's no magical thing around it. It sounds more complicated than it actually is, to be fair. It's just understanding what you need to do, right? The probably the issue you've got is that how you're displaying that thing so you can zoom in and zoom out. How you're showing an indicator on it. And the answer to that is it's probably easier to just use Flutter map, the Flutter_map package. And that will allow you to put a layer with a custom image on it, and then also put indicators on, like little place markers and things.
Which is, I was thinking of a lousy solution that I really wouldn't do, which is to create a stack in which you put like a grid view of the different numbered areas on it. And then when someone searches 50, it goes actually to that area in the stack, but it's not rendered. It's rendered transparently, so that all you see is the PDF underneath. This would suck as a solution. I like Simon's idea better.
So to be clear, like you said, PDF or image, right? Like you can't be mixing and matching, right? Like it's not going to be suitable, right? You'd be better off processing your PDF into an image and using images only, or vice versa, right? Putting your images in the PDF using that. But PDFs you just want to stay away from as much as possible. You're not going to want to touch them. Honestly, it sounds like a good idea.
The sad part is every business wants to use them.
Yep.
I mean, you can have things like if you've got like content that you're linking to that's like, imagine a PDF in essence is a pre-laid out printed media, right? So it's been so like it's in a certain page size and it's all laid out. It's what's the term? Published, right? Like it's presented and published in this form. That is it. It's fixed. You can't go wrapping it, changing it, moving stuff. No. The whole idea is it's like a representation of what would be printed. So if it's like you're trying to link to like a document, perfect. Use PDF. That's what it's there for. But if you're trying to process a PDF or do anything within it, it's not worth it.
No, by the way, I was going to say 2 days ago I was asked if I could create a PDF in Flutter.
You can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
There's a great
multiple
package.
Yeah. There are several of them.
What was
I
that?
had a short contract with a big company that needed exactly that, and they wanted to. It was one of those where the lawyers wanted everybody to write everything vanilla instead of using a package, and I told them they were absolutely out of their minds.
I love this package. This is brilliant. So the PDF, this
Mhm.
PDF package,
Yeah.
right? It basically means that you can actually build your PDFs out of widgets that are the same names as like Flutter widgets. They're not necessarily exactly the same, but you get to use the same principles. And look, chart grid, pie chart, Cartesian grid, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Grid axis, and you define all your parameters, and it, boom, it's in a PDF. So if you're trying to produce reports, things like that out of your software, this is like the package for it, right? And it's super easy to use and make. And like, here you go, look, create a document, add a page, use this builder to build the widgets, and that's it. You can build it in memory.
Yeah,
You
I
should be
appreciate the
careful.
recommendation. But this was more along the comment of all the businesses want to use it, and I'm pointing out the fact that my business wants to use it.
You should be careful when you search for PDF because people stumble across the package that is named something like Syncfusion PDF something. That's not open source. It's a commercial package. You pay to use it. So be careful if you land. Everything with Syncfusion in it is all commercial. Please beware of that.
Syncfusion.
Yep.
If you want to use
Doesn't
it, if you
mean
want
it's bad. It just means it's payware.
Yeah, I mean, and it's pretty hefty fees though. It's pretty insane.
It's made for big commercial products. Anyway,
Yeah,
PDFX is the package to go for if you want a viewer that's optimal on all of the platforms. All of the platforms. And it allows you to zoom in, zoom out, do pagination. It'll see here, it will re-render and everything else. Really good. And you don't have to use like their custom view. You can build your own. Like it's really, really helpful. So really highly recommend this. You can't enough. It's PDFX. So the two packages. Anyway, that's enough of that.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Because it's for the entire package. It's not just for one widget.
Yeah, but they're pricing themselves right out of the market. They could
I
sell
was
so
going to
much
say,
more.
I have a privileged view because I can see Randall right now. When Scott put this up there, he was sitting there with his arms crossed, going, That's why I came on here.
They're pricing themselves out of they're not pricing themselves out of the market they're looking for, which is the top end commercial.
Yeah.
They don't want to be dealing with lots of.
They've been around for a long time. They're a tools vendor, right? So I mean, they sell tools for developers that are going to build, enterprise apps, and that can afford the $700 a month into their product.
But the thing is, they would pay that because they get someone
in the wrong business.
the code and do that. It's cheaper for them to do that than to employ a developer to build and manage those things on their side.
Yeah.
Well, and places like the company Scott's talking about, I don't know that particular company, but I mean, these places that don't want you to use these open source packages, a lot of them would accept something like this, because
and it's so backward too, because the open source is reviewed by thousands of people in many cases. You can't, and people who specialize in the package, who really know what they're doing. And so, to get something, sorry, Simon, but then to use something from a small team that's commercial, it's like it hasn't been gone over enough as much. It hasn't been tested as much. I don't know. I've never understood this.
To be clear, the Syncfusion packages are open source, right? Like they can't not publish things to pub.dev and not be open source. However, I mean, it's licensed. Like you can use it commercially without paying a fee. If they find it,
I wouldn't say they're open source. They're published source. They're not open source.
Oh,
okay.
They won't. They're not open to PRs.
I mean, if you can see the source, kind of means open source, but it doesn't mean open source in that way. Yes, I agree.
No,
I agree.
open source is something specific to me.
I know. I agree. Like, it's like beer is in. What was that thing that Stallman used to say? Beer is in free beer or whatever.
If you two are going to do this, I'm going to go get some popcorn.
Anyway, come on, moving on.
Anyway, just I took offense that you call it open source. It's definitely not.
All right. How to hide, I think that's or show push notification for both Android and iOS, I guess, if the notification has a specific key.
What?
Well, I think what they mean by a key is something I'm doing with RFW, which is you put a specific text trigger in front of it. Like I'm using RFW EXEC, which will never appear in anything, but
I mean, I'm not sure what he's asking. So if using the push notification, as I said earlier, with the notification section, it's not in your control. It's not your app or anything, right? It's done by the system.
Right.
If you want to control it yourself, then you use Flutter local notifications package, right? And then inside here, you can choose to hide and show notifications and do whatever you want with the notifications. And in fact, each notification gets an ID, if I remember rightly. Where is it? Give me an example. I don't want to be set up.
Display notification.
Display notification. There we go. Yeah. So you get a ID number. In this case, this is 0. And then you can say remove 0 and it'll remove it. Like you can control everything through this. And if you want to persist these yourself, then you would persist these in your local database or storage or whatever, and then you can control them. That's simple, right? If your app is closed down and it starts back up, you'll know which one it is and you can remove it. Yeah, that's simple. You're muted, Daniel.
Simon scrolled through pretty quick, but that is usable for both Android and iOS.
Yeah.
The only reason I kind of mentioned that is because you scrolled past that real quick, and there was a whole big section talking about Android.
There's so much in that documentation because notifications are just complicated. So I would suggest before you start implementing or using it, read the documentation in full. Go through. You may not get it all. This is the problem with documentation, right? So I just want to explain this. Always read the documentation. Try and read it in full at least once through. You may not get all the concepts the first time because it's explained other concepts in the same documentation. But as you start reading it, things will start clicking and coming together. And then you go to use it, you'll be like, oh, wasn't that thing I read about that? And then you can go look it up and use it, right? But if you just go start building something and then go and try and look things up, you're going down the slow path. Believe it or not, it's better to spend that upfront time reading the documentation, understanding the library before going to implement it, right? Anyway, what's next?
What's next? I am getting ready to share screen as what's next. All righty. Our next one on the waveform. This actually, to me, is not a direct Flutter question. However, it is an answerable question.
It is a Flutter question.
Audio waveforms.
Nope.
Just waveform.
No. I don't know. You can. It says that audio waveforms. It actually does say that. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, though, you just don't. I wouldn't even bother. Like just you load your audio file, pick your audio library to load your audio file, and that's it. You've got the data for the waveform. And an audio file is representative of the waveform. That's exactly it. It's a one-to-one. It's the amplitudes over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's your waveform. And then you
they're talking about displaying it. But he said how to get an audio waveform, not about how to display it. Is that how do I get it? Yeah. Right? And I'll explain what it is. If he wants to know how to render it, well, it's the same thing. Just have a custom painter that takes that data and renders lines. There you go. And the vertical line height would be the amplitude, which is the sample from your file.
Yeah.
We can do it in a minute if you like.
And there's also, I mean, there's other apps like Hillel's Moodio out there that deal with, pretty deeply with some of this music kind of stuff out there. So, I mean, I haven't looked at the source code for that, but I've got to believe that he's doing quite a bit with, with similar things.
What was the actual? I mean, look, this is that package that where am I? This is the package that Scott was just pointing at, audio waveforms, right? Mm-hmm. And it does say that generate waveform from audio recording, right? So it's going to, again, get sampled there and give you some lines. This allows recording as well. So recording controller. So maybe it's a bit more than what you're looking for.
Yeah.
especially if you need to link up the recording to the display. In that case, it's probably not with this display player.
I thought that's what this was intended for.
I don't know why he wants to show the audio waveform, right? So
Yeah, it allows you to generate waveform while recording audio from audio file.
Right, but that's maybe
While
different than
recording
having a file
away
waveform from it, which is what I was reading.
Right. Yeah.
But with that said, I mean, you know,
This-
all
I
of
mean,
this is pretty.
intrinsically, this is all linked to playback and recording. But maybe this
Yeah.
does exactly what he wants. So, you know, yeah. Good luck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Fourier
Yeah.
transform would do. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a fast Fourier transform, but
Yeah. FFT.
yeah, does anybody actually do regular Fourier without being fast?
No.
Because those were not workable, and fast was like. By the way, anybody out there, just look at the history of how we came up with fast Fourier transforms. It is amazing
Well,
how it came in, and how
was that?
it could have saved us from a whole bunch of nuclear proliferation if we'd had it even a month earlier.
I can believe that.
So it's got a fascinating history. That it has nothing
I'll
to
tell
do
you
with Flutter.
that I've got another. I've got. I think I found what I was looking for here. Hang on. There's also something else that everyone should check out, which is called the fast inverse square root. Does anyone know about this?
I don't know about that.
Mm-mm.
All right, I'm going to put this in chat. Don't go to it now. Copy and paste it. Don't click on it because you'll go away from us. But it's in the chat for anyone that wants it. And this is a link to a really great talk about the fast inverse square root, which is actually was used in the three-dimensional calculations on Quake 3, and it's the way that made it fast. Like we wouldn't get the performance out of the games literally nowadays if we didn't do this. So
Right
amazing stuff.
click, open in new tab.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Next.
Alrighty.
Websites.
What would I use WASM for? Rendering web pages.
So I think probabilism. There you go. So WASM is WebAssembly, right? And WebAssembly is just it's basically a replacement for JavaScript, right? So what your question is saying is, what would I use JavaScript for? And the answer is any web development, and the same as WASM, right? That's it. That's the answer to your question. Web development, any web development.
I mean,
But now you can use WASM not on websites, so any development.
Well, to me, there's kind of two answers. First off, by just enabling it, you're going to be using it on a website because your Flutter code is going to compile down to it.
Maybe the question was why.
Yeah.
Why would I use
Well,
WASM?
No, it's what would
Yeah,
it, well,
yeah.
No, I know that. But I
Right,
mean,
but
maybe
that-
the
but
actual
that-
question should have been
Yeah.
why would I want to use
Yeah.
WASM?
Yeah.
Right?
And depending on what nation they're from, that might be the way they phrased the question why.
Well, if
That's
it's
a good point.
why, the point is that WASM is
Performance.
quicker and WASM is higher performing than JavaScript
Yeah.
because that's going to be source interpreted.
It's not
Yeah.
at all carrying the baggage that JavaScript's been carrying around for decades.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? The lag, the baggage, and the oh my god,
Yeah.
all the problems that JavaScript has,
yeah.
which is
Yeah,
many.
that's what makes that's one of the things that makes Dart a lot better than JavaScript or Java, either one, because it's not carrying around decades of failed experiments and craziness and stuff like that.
And the other thing to mention here is the other reason why WASM has actually been the chosen thing to build for web as the replacement for JavaScript is because you can use any source language. If your source language is like C# and you compile it to WASM, then WASM can be used on web. So now you can build websites out of C# or you can build web stuff out of C#. And the same goes for Dart and everything else. As each of these source languages have backends that compile to WASM, you will then be able to use them on websites and web content. So we're going to see explosion of content for web based on WASM. This is why it's so important.
I have a question for John.
But I was going to say, but the
Well,
problem
go
right
ahead,
now
finish up.
is you're probably going to similar places. I was going to say the problem right now is the fact that Chrome is pretty much your only home for it.
But
So is I on the same track as you were, Scott?
it's
Well,
I think-
anything based on Chromium, which
Yeah.
would be
Well,
Edge,
like-
Chrome, yeah.
a lot of things
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Basically
Mozilla.
everything. I think
So-
Firefox also supports it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I do believe Mozilla is also Chromium based.
Yeah.
John,
Yes.
speaking of loaded down with failed experiments, et cetera, you already know where this is going. But
Maybe
I was wondering if Windows still has backward compatibility to 3.1.1.
to 3.1.1. Oh, that's a good question.
It
don't know if
does. What I saw, you know, I saw the other day. I saw a tweet
Well,
that said,
Mhm.
"Oh my
Yeah.
god." I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, John.
I
It
saw
said-
that. I know what you're talking
It
about.
was like,
yeah.
"Oh my god, Windows, like the Windows 11 is still ran like this code that was compiled in
It still lets you
1993,
run code from
or something like that."
Well,
and it's
yeah,
like
that's,
30
uh,
years old.
I heard a rumor. Now, this is just a rumor, but basically at Microsoft a long time ago, they ran into a situation where they did an update and developers were complaining about breaking changes and it broke their apps. So somebody at Microsoft, in their infinite unwisdom, said that Windows should always be backward compatible for everything so that there's never any breaking changes for anybody's apps,
Yeah, eventually
which
that
has caused it to be bloated with
Yeah.
so many band-aids.
So that
Yeah.
changed with
Yes.
universal apps.
With
Do you want to
what?
explain that? Do you want to explain that, or should I explain that, John?
No, I mean, yeah, it there was definitely at some point that was the philosophy. It's changed over time to not be quite that, unbreakable.
I mean, it's always good to have backwards compatibility, but the problem has always been that in my eyes at least, Microsoft also bent over backwards to solve bugs in their application code as well. So the apps
Yes.
would use the APIs incorrectly, like not documented. Instead of the apps, then they release a new version that it tests well against their APIs the way they were designed. However, the apps now break. Like let's say Adobe, someone upgrades their computer, and suddenly the next version of Windows, Adobe just breaks, right? Their version of Adobe, and they realize, wow, actually, it's because Adobe was calling the API incorrectly and not following the documentation. So now what they do is they then patch the API inside of Windows to make it work for that case, so that Adobe no longer crashes, right? And this is the problem you get, because suddenly Windows has all these patches and all these special things for lots of outside sources that are outside their computer.
Yeah, for a lot of undocumented APIs that people found and decided to use. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons
something-
why. And this is also one of the reasons why things like now on Apple and I think Android as well, if you publish an app that's using undocumented APIs, that would be it won't go through. It'll fail their automated checks. You cannot release it. But in the world of desktop, over time, there was never an app store. There was never you sign code. Like you could just chuck any code on at any time. So now we're moving into this idea where you've got like a marketplace, right, for destination. You can then have more control of what APIs and actually have control over deprecation of old stuff, right? Where you just didn't have that in the olden days. So this kind of goes into UWPs, Universal Windows API or whatever it's apps.
Universal apps. Yeah.
Universal. I don't call it Universal.
Universal
So
Window. UWPs.
I can't remember what it stands for now. But anyway, UWP, basically Universal apps. So this is now a subset of the Windows API that is now supported.
Correct.
And then you get the new set of APIs for Windows that are now supported. And apps that are built as these universal binaries can only use those new APIs. So they're completely deprecated.
Yeah.
All the old stuff. You have to recompile to get to work. And if you deploy through the Windows App Store, you need to be universal. So the idea being that now there's control of this flow of data. And it is good. It's good.
Well, it also unbloats some of the app and stuff. You're not including a bunch of stuff that you don't need anymore and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always it's that same thing that we have with Android, which is there's suddenly always compatibility libraries going to make your app work on all the other systems. And it's like you'd have all this stuff in apps that was just to make it work on all the various stuff. Right? So again, getting rid of all that craft is only to the benefit of the end user. It does come at the expense of developers and firms, but that's what it should be. It's on our side to make sure it works on the systems we want it to work on. Right.
Quick housekeeping note. Alex, you've asked the same question 3 times. So we took out the 2 that were first. Your last one is the one that's in line. So
retracted
again,
that
that's don't spam the same question.
Yeah, Randall hit it
Even
up
if
in
you
chat, too.
reword it in different ways, we'll notice it.
Should we carry
Also,
on? We kind of went off topic.
I no, yeah,
sorry.
I know, but back
Before we
on
get
topic
this-
for a moment, or not.
WASM. I just saw this. This is what's funny.
It was
Mozilla
all- that's
also put Magic about in 2017.
team. Yeah.
Maybe not with GC,
All right.
but you know that's the
Yeah.
idea. This has been a long
So-
time coming.
I believe this is a rumor. I sure hope it's a rumor. Otherwise, I'm still really, I would get very, very worried about how they
Yeah.
handle
No.
data security.
That's not real.
No.
Not that they
I
were
mean, come
not.
on.
It wasn't because
no.
they were running old version. That old of a
They-
version.
Oh,
They were
oh,
actually
yes.
running. No. One of the what was it? No, they had the forget about CrowdStrike. What was CrowdStrike? There's CrowdStrike. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's an airline that did not have their computers go down because they were running Windows 3.11 as their system.
Southwest, yeah.
I heard that as a rumor that it was
No.
Southwest. But the thing is, if they were running 311, how are they handling data security?
Yeah. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah. And they were running Windows.
It's more likely they
Windows-
don't
I think it
use
was Windows
CrowdStrike.
98. I think it was Windows 98 on the back end systems. I mean, this is
That's
happening
possible.
everywhere. Like governments do this. Like there's huge government departments that also have the same problems over legacy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you can't be. There's not budget to keep updating and keep changing all the time. So they have to pick and choose when the lifetime things are. I want the support packages and a bunch of other stuff around these things. Right? It's not as simple as use the latest one. However, what's funny is, yes, their computers didn't go down, but they interface with the airline systems and other systems that did go down. So it makes no difference.
Right. No, they couldn't do anything, but I don't know. If somebody's working on 311, I don't think I want my personal data on their system.
To be honest, I'm not got a problem with it. I'll tell you why. Because it's not about the actual where the code's running. It's a lot simpler, right? There's a lot less problems. It's like if it's locked down, it's not running it can't run any code that you put in, like they're actually doing those mechanisms, then you're not going to run just random code. You can't go browse websites, you can't do anything else, it just runs the app. I'm fine with that. In fact,
It won't even run Netscape 4. I mean,
this is my point. This is my point. Like the fact of the matter is, I'd rather have a system that just booted up and ran the application and did nothing else, right? Because then you've not got any chance. Anyone like it's like a kiosk mode thing, right? Like you're just running that code. You're not running anything outside of it. But yeah, I mean, you can't run USB. It doesn't support USB.
I think we're dating ourselves, folks.
311.
3.11. Yeah, 3.11.
3.11 was in 1985. No, 95.
Yeah.
No,
No, it was
95.
No,
1994.
earlier than that.
Oh, earlier than that, yeah.
93.
Windows 95 came out around 95.
Funny story. Okay, I'm
Somewhere
gonna
around.
have to get going here in a minute, but awesome story. I knew a guy. We were
93.
over at his house, and he was running 311, which is 311. And then he updated to 95, and he hated it, so he rolled back to 311. Well, the way a blue screen of death is set up is the variables in there are blank needs blank or must have blank, something like that. Or I'm sorry, it was requires. So he got a blue screen of death on 311 after rolling back, right? And the blue screen of death said, this version of Windows requires a newer version of Windows. And that's what happens when you set
Remnants
up
from-
variables to explain everything to your users.
Remnants are reverting back.
I'm gonna. Well, wait. What was that website? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna find it quickly. Sorry, carry on.
And if you
All right, I
think
think
we
we
get
gotta
sidetracked with
we're
goofy
losing.
stuff here, you should see us when we're on our own time.
Oh my god.
The other thing I was going to date myself with quite a bit was the what Simon was saying was reminding me very much from the movie Short Circuit. They don't get happy. They don't get sad. They just run programs.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you wanna see Windows 3.11 running in your browser in JavaScript?
No, 310. 310.
It's 3.1. Yeah.
310, fine, good enough.
You can run. It's so simple that you can run it in a web browser.
Hey look,
Okay.
hey look. Shoot.
I remember when stuff was like that.
Oh my goodness me! Oh no!
Wow.
Hey look, show full screen. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember when stuff looked like that. Yeah.
Games. Let's go games.
All right, Minesweeper. Yeah, Minesweeper.
If you think this is
Minesweeper.
crazy, you should see when Simon gets into YouTube.
Oh,
And
I want to
follows
tell
the
people
whole-
like, did you know? So see this icon on the top left is called the system menu and system icon. It still exists on Windows today, and if you double click it, it closes the window, and that still works right now on Windows. You just double click the top left, and you close the window.
Yep.
Those that want to know that piece of arcane knowledge, there you go. All right, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
All right. You didn't share the link for everybody to go play with it?
Oh, I'll share the link. If people want to try it out, I'll share the link. Go on, there you go.
And it's got more than that. It's got other systems.
Yes, there's like every computer under the sun is on there. So. Oh yeah.
I'll tell you what. 311.
I'm not mocking it. No one's mocking it. We're adoring it, right? Like
311 was one of the best operating systems Windows Microsoft ever produced. That and what was it? NT51?
4.
Is that still the basis for a lot of servers?
That are running today.
It was the basis of the NT kernel, right? And the NT kernel is now the basis of all versions of Windows.
Yeah.
That thing was solid.
Oh, guys, look. Windows 95 in the browser. You see it? So we're running a compact Desk Pro 386, 4 megabytes of RAM with a VGA graphics card. Oh, look at that. Gorgeous things. Hang on. Does anyone remember this? Come on, this is cool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is way before my time.
If you press escape,
the funny thing, for the longest time, Microsoft had this pattern. They would put out a great operating system and a train wreck, and then another great operating system, and then another train wreck. It was like all you had to do was find a good one and wait 2 versions.
Oh, that green. Do you remember that green?
Yep.
Speaking of train wrecks.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look at
There
that.
have been a couple in a row there. I think we had Windows Bob was in there someplace too.
90.
What's really crazy is this idea of a start menu and how this all changed. It's still fundamentally the same today. Like like the X in the top right. Like this still is like what people
would revolt if you started jerking that stuff around. It was bad enough when they changed the start menu.
It did.
It was called Windows 8. It's called Windows 8.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, 311 was a great operating system. 95 was considered a wreck. 98 was the recovery from that. ME was a train wreck.
No.
95 was not. Yeah.
No, it was 98 second edition, which was the recovery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Second edition.
Anyway.
ME was a train wreck. ME was when they discontinued the speech API completely without a replacement. I was so pissed.
Oh, I love that thing.
I was in the middle of developing a really cool thing that made Cortana look stupid. It had an attitude. If you made it mad, then it wouldn't do what you wanted. It was great.
Do you know what I remember doing? ActiveX. Does anyone remember ActiveX components?
Yes.
I remember building a Visual Basic and ActiveX component that would actually do text to speech in the browser. And I was like, oh my god, this is cool. Yeah.
All those old things. ActiveX, Silverlight, all those fun things.
Yeah.
All right.
There are a few of us who have to run.
Yeah.
After 1 hour.
Old thoughts. Come on.
I know.
When did Windows 10
Randall.
come out? That is like 10 years old now as well, isn't it?
Windows 10? Yeah, it's been,
It's like, where did time go?
I know, right?
I need to do magic here. We're going to make Randall appear.
It was like the last keynote I think I talked at was at Windows 10. One of the
2015.
There you go.
2015.
Yep, 9 years ago. Yep.
Like, I still consider it a brand new operating system in my mind.
Well,
Come on.
they used to,
I know a
they used
number
to
of
put out the next one a lot quicker.
Hmm.
You know,
I know a
we
number
would
of
flip through
people
like
who do
95,
VR.
98, ME,
Sorry.
XP. Those were all a lot faster than the time now
Okay.
since 10. And what, so yeah. And we've done what?
Are you,
2 now?
Scott, you having to head off now then?
Yeah, and I was just going to
Like
say
that.
too that some people's experiences with 11 doing VR, they've rolled back to 10.
I'm going to
So-
tell some people a little anecdote here. Does anyone know why there was no Windows 9? I think John does, but I'm going to tell. I think this.
I'm
this-
waiting to
this-
see where this one's going.
So lots of
I
software
wanna
would
hear
read
this.
the version name from the operating system, and they would check to see if it was Windows 95 or Windows 98 by just seeing if the name of the operating system starts with Windows space 9, which basically means there's lots of software. This is the backwards compatibility thing John's talking about. That we're talking about. Basically, you couldn't have a Windows 9 because all that software would think it was running on Windows 95 and Windows 98, so it would break. So again, there's that kind of like Windows 9 was just off the books, right? So we went from 8 to
So
10.
basically, all the
Skipping.
developers messed it up.
Yeah.
Basically.
All right. With that, I'm going to run away. I got to
Right.
go play with a piece of code that's been frustrating me for a little while. I got to see.
We
if
just
Simon's
fixed it
fix
before
works.
we started this call, didn't we?
No, we haven't tried to run it yet.
Oh, it'll work.
We've edited the code. We're going
Yeah,
to
it'll
find
run.
out if it runs.
Ship it.
Ship
It'll
it.
run. Ship it.
Test in production. It's fun.
I've got to get back to my day job. And even though the next question is web, I don't use Firebase for my web stuff. So
Well, we're going to
our
crack
stuff's
on.
hosted on AWS. So
It's coming.
All right.
sorry.
All right.
Yep.
Bye, everyone that's leaving.
All righty. See you next week. Hasta la
All right.
pasta.
Yeah.
See you next week. Yes. So I did want to bring up something about CrowdStrike when we were talking about it
Yeah,
you go
briefly, because I know we got 13 questions and not a lot of time left. But CrowdStrike, I saw this over the weekend. Apparently, the failure was that they changed one place where there was 20 parameters to have 21 parameters, and they didn't propagate that all the way through the system. But where it failed in particular is that they used a regex to match the data, and it didn't account for the 21st field. Now, this means they're running regexes in kernel mode. Just get the implications of that.
Yeah. And then didn't do a good job at testing it on top of that.
No, definitely not. But I like that. Because the headline actually was CrowdStrike was a regex. Go, huh? I know a few things about regexes.
What's funny is it doesn't surprise any developer that's
No.
Yeah,
other side of
that's
this is
true.
it's like this is why user mode drivers exist, like to not cause these kind of problems. And it's,
Yeah. It's saying, okay, so we're cut off on questions now. No more questions. Let's see. Is there anything that just came in? No. Okay, good. So no more questions. We've got plenty to go through. So some of my Flutter web assets images are not loading when I deploy host the Flutter web on Firebase. While debugging and running in release mode, everything runs fine. Wow, this is
you're
interesting
running
diagnosis.
into two problems. The first problem in your Firebase deployment, you need to add headers to say that the images can be used off your site. That's probably one thing if it's a different domain. The other one is CORS, CORS. These are extra headers that go about cross-domain access. These are probably the things that you're running into. So what's going to happen is the browser tries to load using XML RPC the images, and then it does a CORS header request to make sure that you're allowed to access that content, and the Firebase site is not configured for that. So there's actually Firebase. I think there's literally like a line that you add to your configuration, and
I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Even
I just literally just googled it. Hit I'll just go on the wrong tab. That'd be one that's not coming up. I've just googled it, and there you go. Setting up CORS in Firebase. I don't know if this is up to date or anything, but this explains it. Like XHRs, style sheets, images, and so on and so forth. And create CORS.json file. Put your origin methods and headers in. don't do this. This is great for testing. Don't do this. You just literally turn off cores by doing this. Put your website addresses in this array, right? Including custom ports. If you're running it locally, then you do it with like port 6000, and you run when you're running Flutter run, you do --web-port and then the port number, say 6000, and that's what you put inside here. Anyway, you can go look this up. Anyway, there you go, and then you do install gsutil, gsu config, whatever your bucket is where you're storing your files or whatever, and away you go. That is it.
Scott's back, I'm assuming, to tell us that everything ran and he's shipping.
He did it right.
I shipped it. Now people think I'm CrowdStrike.
Nice.
I just thought I would
Nice.
come in here and mention that.
Dude,
no, it's
we should
not
have
working.
that. We should start that as a new trend. You CrowdStriked it. You know what I mean? You tore down production.
Nice.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
All right,
Next.
I'm out of
Next
here.
one.
All right, next.
Okay, moving on. Is Shorebird
Yes.
good? We actually have 2 or 3 Shorebird questions.
Well,
so-
it's and then there's a bunch about it, but yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
you need to do what it does,
I mean, I've not used it personally, so I'm not going to say if it's good or bad. But I considering that it's made by one of the
By
founders of
Eric.
Flutter, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
Cool. All right, on the next one. How to make my video player size get smaller like YouTube and mobile.
You're talking about what's called picture-in-picture, and that's built in. Where is it?
Well, are they just talking about making it the image,
Okay,
the
well,
video smaller?
Omar, let us know what you mean.
Yeah.
So when I say video player gets smaller, you mean like it's full screen and you press a button and it gets smaller at the top and you do like some animation, because that's just animated widget. I mean, you can do a hero. There's lots of other ways of doing that.
Yeah.
Or if you're talking about it like you leave, when you leave the app, it pops out into some little thing that sits on top. That's called
Yeah.
picture-in-picture mode.
I think YouTube and mobile is interesting in that when your landscape, it's the full screen. When your portrait, it's tiny at the
It
top,
goes to
and
the
then there's
top, yeah.
chat below
Oh,
it. Maybe
yeah.
that's what they mean.
Well, that's what I was thinking was.
I mean, I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you, I'm not using orientation builder and build 2 different layouts with 2 different video player widgets.
yeah.
With different places. That's it.
Yep.
And then if you put
Right,
a hero widget around it, it will animate between the 2.
Yep.
Next.
Hang
Is
on, before we
Flutter's-
jump off, hang on.
Oh.
Before we jump off of that, there was a
Right.
where is it? Let me just dig out the function. I think it's in here. Damn, I can't find it now. Anyways, just look picture-in-picture Flutter up.
Okay.
Oh look, there's a package for that apparently. Hang on, here you go.
Of course.
Oh, this is in-app. This may not be the same thing. This may not be the same thing. Anyway, ignore me. But I'm pretty sure that there was an official way of doing this, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Floating. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah. So is this what? Oh, it says it's on the wrong page. Here you go. Is this the pack? Is this the type of thing you're trying to do, where you have it in your app, and then when you leave or whatever, it pops out into like a
That
little
looks
floating-
cool.
So
I wish
that's
I had
picture-
an app
It
that I
only
could-
works on Android.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
sure.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't care then.
You can actually do this on iOS.
Same thing, and the iOS does the same thing, but it looks like that package only works for Android.
Someday I'm gonna get an Android phone. I haven't got one yet. I was.
Oh, apparently there's another package called
It's
Picture-in-Picture Flutter, which supports
Oh.
Android and iOS, apparently.
Oh.
Nice.
I don't know. I've never used this. Android, there's the iOS implementation, how to use. I'll put a link, the package in the chat. I've never used these packages. I don't know how good any of the code is, but I don't know. Looks interesting. Disable it, enable it. Yeah.
If one of you plays with it this week, come back next week and tell us how it works.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get you on. We may even put you on the live stream. We have that capability. It's a little tricky,
That-
but we can work it out. Okay, we're done with
But-
that.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, for those that don't know, PIP or picture-in-picture is like a known thing from TVs and things. So you can actually put your TV into like a mode where you have, or your monitor into modes where you have multiple inputs all open at the same time. Anyway.
Yep. All right. And is Flutter support presentation screen like on a Sunme device?
Is Flutter
presentation
support presentation screen like on Sunme?
I'm
I don't know what
assuming
Sunme
that's
device.
supposed to be it does. Yeah.
So you can do what an immersive. Sunme is like a payments device. I mean, if it runs Android, you can run Flutter.
It's a POS,
What?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it runs. Sunme Android. Yeah, it's an Android POS device.
Yeah.
Sunme payment solution. The answer is if it runs a version of
presentation
Android.
screen. I don't. Yeah, like what's presentation?
I think he
screen
mean. I'm wondering if he means like embedded screen,
Yeah, maybe.
like an embedded device. Restate your question and we'll answer it. If you pop it in the chat, we'll get to it. Kiosk mode. Yeah, I mean, that's what Christian just said. Kiosk mode. Yeah, that's what I was thinking myself.
Maybe.
If you're talking about sort of kiosk mode, yes, you can do that kind of thing. You can link with the operating system APIs to put them into kiosk mode. It was actually something inbuilt into Flutter. It's called the System Chrome API, and you can set the System UI mode. And if you set the System UI mode, you can set it to immersive sticky, which will hide all the status bar and everything else. But yeah, I'll pop that in the chat for anyone that wants to go take a look.
Next.
All right. Next, just about Jasper, basically. How cool is Jasper, basically? So we're Jasper. Killian's a friend of the show. He's been on the show twice, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, we found Jasper a long time ago, and we were like, yes, we just kept pushing because it is like thing. I see the reason why it returns an iterable component.
Yeah,
we should just return a component because then it'd be more Flutter-esque, right? So the iterable component means that you get it more one-to-one with the widget, with the HTML widgets that it actually generates, because widgets work with that DOM objects work that way. However, it would be nicer if it was to reinterpret it as instead of being a one-to-one, it reinterprets it a bit and actually does that bit for you, basically. Siblings.
Yeah, I mean, you could always return just a list. No, I guess not. It has to return iterable. Yeah.
Well, no, it could be a list, but you're putting a list of one item, is what I'm trying to say, rather than turning one item.
Right.
Right. So you always end up. The only problem with Jasper, I feel, is that you're always making empty lists or lists with one item, which is just feels. I rather that there would be maybe a new widget, new components called single component or something, which optimizes that out. Because that adds up.
So I'm actually working on rewriting Stonehenge.com to be Jasper. So it's slow in progress, but I've got a bit more spare time right now, so I probably should take it on right now and get that finished. That'd be great.
The future potential to leverage the NPM system? I have no idea about that. I have not heard anything about NPM and Jasper specifically. I haven't got up with it recently, but
you have to have a web server somewhere, and so NPM is one way to do that. But you can also do a shelf-based system, so you can do it full Dart if you wanted instead.
I mean, you can use no packages already with Jasper because it just uses JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
So you can just do you set up a package.json, you run NPM, you pull your dependencies in, puts in node modules, and you just import node modules into your Dart code using Java, JavaScript drop.
Right. Anyway, we still got plenty of questions here.
I don't know if there's like an inbuilt code generation thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah, web views. Oh, our favorite topic. Web views are rendered above the app bar inside a scroll view on 324. Have you encountered this?
Danielle will be the one for that one.
Yeah.
Web views are rendered above app bar inside a scroll view on iOS. I'm not particularly seeing that issue. This might be because they changed the way platform views are rendered. If I remember rightly, there was some toggle flags for the way platform views are rendered. Have you tried, Corey? Have you tried just sticking a what's it? Boundary? What's it called? Hold on. Come on, people, help me out. Not rendered.
Safe area.
Huh?
Safe area. What do you? I don't know what you're looking for.
No, the boundary widget. What's it called? Repaint boundary. Yeah.
Oh.
Try wrapping the contents, that is the entire scroll view, inside a repaint boundary. This produces an extra layer in the way that the composition system works together, and everything inside that should be rendered to that layer, including platform views, because they're rendered as textures. So that might stop the issue from occurring. So just let you know, try that, Corey. So it's a repaint boundary widget. I'll pop the link in the chat. Other than that, it'll be some platform. It's a problem with the composition itself, in which case there might be some platform view flags. Look at the latest release of release notes for 3.24. I think there was some stuff around platform views.
Cool. All right, next. Way to communicate with web views. So once again, our favorite subject, JavaScript from Flutter on web. I'm using in-app web view, but it's buggy on the web.
Don't use in-app web view. There you go.
And instead, you just use web view.
The official Flutter web view package, I think, now supports web. So now's the time to change. It also supports a JavaScript interface, which is how you do your communication channel. I'm going to say believe because I've forgotten the exact details. Also, you don't need to use web views on web. like that literally defeats the purpose. So what I think, Samir, what you want to be looking for is what's called an iframe. And you can just build a Dart widget that wraps an iframe, HTML iframe element. And then that's it. You've got a web view. You didn't have to, no packages, no nothing. It's like 10 lines of code. I think I even published something in my gists once. Yeah, let's see if I've got something there. It's super simple. To be honest, it's one of those annoying things that I feel like it should be in the official libraries. Yeah. Like it's that simple, right?
Oh. Right.
I don't know if there's a pub package for it. Like someone must have done one. Let me go have a look. Someone must have done like iframe. Flutter HTML iframe. I have 6 resources. I don't know. This sounds like what you might want. Iframe renderer, maybe not. This package renders iframes using WebView Flutter. No, that's not what you want. Maybe this is something I should actually do a package for, because I'm not seeing anything in here which really indicates it, and it's super simple. Damn. Yeah. So basically, hang on, let me just see if I can dig this out. Yeah. Register factory, is it? That's the one.
Oh, there's a better version of this. There's a better version. There's a better version of this question, which is how to embed an iframe and a whole HTML doc within a Flutter web, which is what you're answering. But so this is being answered.
I threw a page in the private chat that you might want to look at.
Oh, is this someone doing exactly that? Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Yeah. Let me bring this up on the stream.
Yeah.
I've not seen this. I've just seen the heading, so we're going to go explore it together. How's that?
Could have dragons down here.
Flutter web iframe using HTML element view.
And it's brand new. July.
Let's have a look. Yeah, so this is what you do. Obviously, this is a great demo, but don't do it like this. So this is just showing you as a demo, right? That you do, all you do is you register a view factory, and when you use this view ID, it will return an iframe element with these parameters, right? So this is basically like you put an iframe in HTML. Then inside your Flutter code, you can now use a HTML element view with that view type, and this HTML element view is the platform view for web, right? There's an Android one, there's an iOS one. This is the one for web, and that's how you link up that ID for the view type. Is how you link them up. There's also view parameters. You can pass over unique parameters, and they get passed into the create parameters of the view factory, which is not shown here. Oh, maybe he's about to talk about how you do that. I don't know. Yeah, this is not a deal. No.
This is how not to do it.
I mean, look, it's a great example, right?
It'll work,
but the problem here is this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's not. This is the one thing I hate about like examples. You have to do it simple so people understand, but then that's not the way you actually do it, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to make yourself any modular the way you do it.
Like, don't use media query like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
media query.
Typically, this is the kind of thing that you do. You register a platform view factory, and then where is it? Let's see if I can. That's really annoying because it doesn't actually see. Hang on, let me bring this up. I'm thinking this is the view register view factory function, and it's just a function without a type. This is to do with because of the way they've switched over between the. It's stupid, but anyway, can be any function that takes an integer and an optional params and returns a HTML DOM element. So this is the thing. In his example, he's not even. I think he's not even taking an integer as the thing. He's bringing over the view type. So these two need to be passed over correctly inside your view factory method, right? Then inside your HTML, what was it called? HTML element view. There you go. In here, you'll see that when you look, it even shows you. Look, there's examples in the documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's better. There you go. Look, and there's your params and view ID that he was missing, right? And what you can do is you can take your params and then edit the parameters of whatever you're building based on those. And there you go. When you build your HTML view, creation params, you pass them across. Let me put this in the documentation.
So in this case, the API documentation is actually clearer and more featureful than the blog post. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And then look,
That's not unusual.
HTML lifecycle, unattached, uncreated, other observers, all this other cool stuff that you can do, and explains it all. Lovely. There you go.
Perfect. There you go. All right.
It's like I ranted on.
Yeah,
I ranted on Monday that there are so many Medium posts that talk about isolates and talk about isolate spawn and maybe they get into compute, but they never mention isolate run, any of them.
Yeah,
and it's like, come on, guys, that's the easiest way to do this,
right.
and actually most efficient. If all you want to do is run something, a chunk of code and another isolate, and get the answer back, it's quickest.
Yep. It's also the most recent, so it could be that a lot of those posts.
Yeah.
But it's 6 months. It's like forever in Dart world.
Actually, it's longer than 6 months, isn't it?
Well, I think close to a year.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, in Dart and Flutter, that's a long time.
Yeah. Well, it was 2 dot something, and we've had 3 dot something for what, 6 months already. So
yeah.
It was 2.17, I think.
Thanks, John, for dropping by.
Yeah. All right. Well, yep. See you
next
week. Yep.
Buenos Aires. All right. Let me continue on here. So we did. Let's see. Did we do this one? Yeah, we did this one. So it's this one. In Firebase, I'm getting a lot of app exceptions. I have Crashlytics, and the app is very stable, but I can't track down what an app exception is. It appears under the event count by event name. Well, something's probably crashing.
So what you probably want to do is inside Crashlytics at the very top, you've got you'll have like a little pill show that says type equal crash, I think it is at the top. X that off and get rid of it, and then you'll see an unfiltered set of everything that is not considered a crash, because you can report errors that are not crashes, and you can and a crash is only an uncaught exception that kind of throws the app apart, right? So you may be why you can't see it because it's been filtered out inside your view. Also, make sure you choose the right version of your app and filter to that, because then that can get rid of some of the cruft around it. But yeah, maybe that will then show you the exception, which is not considered a crash, right? Is what I'm saying. I don't know what else to say.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. This is just another question about Shorebird, and yeah, Shorebird's cool. You know, could this
replace forced update logic that we all have?
We don't all have force update logic.
Okay. You always need to have force update logic. Doesn't matter if you use Shorebird or not. And let me explain why. This and Shorebird will tell you this as well. Sorry, do you want to go over to this, or should I?
No, you're great. I realized what you were talking about force update logic now, and yes, you should talk about it the same way you have on previous shows.
So the problem here is Shorebird only updates the Dart code, not the native code, and that's because it's not allowed to by the App Store guidelines, right? They're not allowed to do that. So this means that when you, if you replace, let's say you add a plugin, it needs Dart code and it uses native code, well, then you need to do an actual forced upgrade to the user. You can't just use over-the-air push. So this is great for most of the code changes are going to take place. They're in Dart, they're in Flutter, that just UI related, that just, Dart code related. But as soon as you use any native packages, they change, you're going to have to do a force upgrade on the user, or a normal build, right? So yeah, you're still going to have to use it. But it's really good because it means the whole idea of like this sort of over the air push is because it means that we get to master the market just like web does. So at the moment, web apps win out when it comes to that, because all the code's hosted server side and it downloads on the fly. And because of it's a bad thing and a good thing, right? It's a bad thing because obviously every time you go there, you have to download and do stuff, and the browser does a whole bunch of work around caching and everything else, which can get in the way and cause problems, right? That's one thing. On the Shorebird way, your app is essentially doing the same thing. Each time you open your app up, it checks to see are there any updates, and then we'll pull down those updates and use those codes, use that new Dart code to run the app. And in that sense, you're getting the same benefit of having essentially a live code base, right? So you make changes, just like Hot Restart, you make your changes, you can push your changes, the patch out to the user. And that means that you can get updates out quicker without having to go through the rigmarole of producing APKs and or IPAs, getting them signed, getting them through the app stores and everything else that goes with that. But to be honest, once you've got that set up once, it's not too difficult. So it's just you need to get the user to install the update, which that can be good and bad, right? So yeah, I mean, I think you only also get so many updates with Shorebird, like for cost, so which is understandable because it's code pushed. I mean, that's what they're doing. So yeah, you would probably have to choose when you're trying to do either. That's it, I think.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. On to the next one. Is conditional import risky to use as an undocumented feature? No.
It's perfectly documented.
Fully supported. Keep in mind that when it was first introduced many decades ago, you could invent your own symbols for conditional import, but right now there's only 2 supported symbols that are about whether you're running on IO or running on HTML. WASM got added, right?
Yeah, no, JS_interop, which is the new one.
Okay. So there's 3 now, but that's. Are you sure it's JS interrupt?
Yeah, JS_interrupt is if you're using a new web package.
Okay. Right. Cool. Right, because they had to replace the classic
HTML. Yeah. So the HTML one stays, and that's the old one, and there's a new JS interrupt one for the new one.
Sure. Cool.
I'm trying to find. It's going to bug me. Hang on. There is official documentation for this, and I can't.
Look for conditional import because that'll find it on the Flutter Dev site.
There's a migration guide. Actually, let's bring this up. So for those that don't know, So where the web official web package web on pub is the replacement for the HTML package. It's a Dart code HTML, the one that's built in, and it uses JS interop, which is a new mechanism for interoperability with JavaScript. And here you go, the new interop library versus the old one. So all these old packages that we used to use now are in package web, and all these old packages we used to use, Dart.js and package.js, are now JS interop. And interop unsafe apparently. So yeah, just to let people know, those are the things. And then there's a migration guide. Find it. And this walks you through what you need to do to do different things, right? So as you can see here, these are not supported for WASM. You need to be using the interop package to get the WASM support. Stay modern. They're using the IDL system to better generate the code and not keep all the legacy. So it's basically saying you need to remove this and this. Renaming, there's certain things that have been renamed and certain ways that you define things. I'm pretty sure conditional imports. There you go. So Dart library IO, Dart library HTML, and now Dart library JS interop for the new one. So that allows you to basically you're switching this out for this. But if you've got if you've got a package where you've got new web and old HTML mixed because you're migrating, then you probably need to use all three. But this is fully documented. This is not an undocumented feature to use exports or imports that are conditional.
Documented and supported. It's not like it's
and fully supported.
Yeah.
I don't know actually. To be honest, you said about them being 3, but I wonder if the library, that you have library tags in your libraries that you import, and they have the name. I wonder if they can be used in there.
No, in the old days, could that feature went away about 4 years ago.
Do you remember Dart extensions?
Yeah.
Hang on. Let's see it. I'm gonna see it. Hang on. I'm gonna see if I can find a code example of this. This is an all.
Oh, and just a public announcement: 324.1 just got dropped, so I'm installing it right now. Of course, while we're on the show.
There's all this talk about Dart. That's a shame. Where is it? Sorry, I just want to see if I can find this because this was kind of interesting. I used this actually I used this in a couple of projects. So I've just found a random old documentation. This is actually from the original Dartlang webpage, but I think the original one's off anyway. So what you used to be able to do is use an import. I wonder if there's an example down here. Here you go. You used to be able to do this. Do you remember this, Randall? Did you ever see this before?
Yeah, that looks vaguely familiar.
So you used to be able to do Dart code-ext, and then this is the name of a native code, it's like a .dll file. And then what you would do is use the native keyword to define the imports for these functions, and it would look them up inside of this extension that you're importing in to find them, and it would basically dynamically import these. This was before FFI.
Yep. Oh, you ended up on the fart pages.
Yeah, I know, because it's the old ones, right? They don't exist anymore. I love this. It's brilliant. But anyway, so here you go.
Just in case you're not in on the joke, somebody one time in the past copied the entire dart.dev website over to another website and replaced every occurrence of Dart with part just for fun. So it's apparently serves as an archive of the Dart at that moment. So
it was in 2.15 that they removed Dart.ext.
Yep.
It's because it didn't support all the platforms that we're now adding, and Dart FFI replaces it. So. Anyway.
Now I'm rebuilding all my globally installed scripts, which I have a tool for, so I could go through and say, please rebuild everything that is pub global.
Did you come up with that yourself? Because I think there was a pub cache repair does that.
I didn't see anything at the time that could do it, so I wrote it.
The Dart pub cache repair, the command, that will do it.
I don't think that that just fixes the cache. That doesn't actually rebuild.
No, the local entry points for installed components as part of pub. The pub
Okay.
manager, local any machine. I think it does it.
Maybe that's a fairly recent update to pub then, because
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Anyway, all right, we've answered that one.
Oh, let's look at the next
last one. There you go.
So last, yeah, there we go. Oops.
Oh.
Show. Does anyone know if Flutterfire plans to support Firestore database in macOS? I don't think I've seen anything about that.
So it's the same thing about what you're probably searching, Roberto, is the wrong thing. You want to search macOS, you want to search desktop, Flutter desktop. And Firestore Flutter desktop. There has been attempts by the community and various other attempts, and the problem here is it's huge just to support another platform. To officially support something means they need staffing and support and everything else. Like, it's not just like for us as a single developer, it's like, oh yeah, we'll just add that support, right? But for a company that has lots of customers and as big as Google, it's a proposition to add a new, quite a big proposition to add this kind of support. They'll get there, but yeah, make your voice known, right? Make sure you post in the Google groups and the various channels, and make sure you're staying up to date and plus running all your various issues and everything else to kind of stay on top of it, because that's the only way they're going to know that they want to bring it up higher in their priorities when there's a demand for it. Just, you know, it's the way that's going to happen. Now, to be honest, you can actually, Roberto, you can actually do this yourself, right? Again, there are several packages on Pub that are non-official that you can use, and you can also call the API, Firestore API directly using gRPC. I know because I did this on desktop myself, and you can do it that way. There's also the official way of doing it would be to use the Firebase C library, and then use FFI on macOS. But again, that's still something you would have to do yourself. So you can do it, but doesn't mean it's going to be supported, right? So there you go.
The announcement for the 324.1 said it was actually 322.3, and I wrote it back and said, "Are you sure it's 322.3?" So I just got another announcement. It's 324.1. Yes, that's what we meant to say the first time.
I always want to have a look for this in the chat here.
Just doing that. I wonder if I can count that as GDE activity. An announcement.
The main German train company was recently looking at Windows 3.1 admin, which makes sense since the trains often run for over 30 years. Yeah, totally. This is way back. Sorry, I'm just looking for the conversation.
How do they keep it fueled if it's running for 30 years?
Yeah, this is what I was saying, Christian. Yeah, you require cores because it goes through the XHR mechanism. In the HTML render, it does not. It uses the image tags, so they work differently in the browser. So yeah, you need to have cores enabled to do image loading. Working on pip for both Android and iOS. Hopefully, published before next week. A package,
cool.
New package, cool. May need nested scroll view. Never need nested scroll view. There's no need ever to have a nested scroll view. Yes, it's evil.
Only if you want to confuse your users.
Does it allow communication JavaScript code like pass and data to JS like JavaScript in that browser? You're running your code in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Samir. All your Dart code is JavaScript when it runs. There's no like having to pass. You just call the functions in JavaScript. So what you're looking for is the JS_interop package. Go look that one up on Pub, and that will show you how you make your interop with JavaScript with Dart on web.
The biggest complication is trying to get objects serialized over into JSON for transmission, right? That's pretty simple.
No, you don't need to do that. No, it's done for you.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
called. Oh, it's called. For those that don't know, maybe I can load this up actually briefly. I was
guess I
doing
gotta
this the
look
other day. It's really interesting actually. What was I doing the other day? I don't have a. I think it's on the web package here. Let's see if I can bring this up. Do they have general conventions? It's a bit weird because again, it's about interoperability, so it works differently. But basically, you do .2js and like .2dart. So if you've got like a future and you need to give it as a promise to some JavaScript, you do .2js. It's like an extension getter on a function. And then the same goes for, I'm see if I can find it in a second. And then the same goes for strings and other things. You do .2js, and then if you're taking something from a JavaScript boxed object like a JS string or a JS function, and you want the Dart version, you do .2dart. I think let's go into the. It should be in the package somewhere. Let's I wonder if there's like extensions. Yeah, extension types. There you go. Oh wow, this is like lots of generic code, so I don't want to do that. Let's do a search for .2dart. I think this might actually be in the. Do you know what it is? It's in the JS interrupt package. Let's go to that. Let's go JS interrupt. I bet it's in here.
01.
Oh, maybe not. No, I'm wrong. I'm Groot. Oh, this is the wrong. Wait. I think
2 years ago.
Package. No, this is the wrong. Hang on. That's totally the wrong package. I want Dart JS interrupt. Don't I? Yeah. It's inbuilt. I forgot about that. There we go. This is what I was looking for. So this is like, you have like a promise, then you're going to have show this on here. It would be nice if it was in the documentation. Basically, yeah. So .2js as a property, as an extension. So this will give you a on a Dart exportable function. Oh look, there's a page. There's documentation. How about that? There's documentation to read.
No. Wow.
Would you be surprised? Compatibility.
Who knew?
I didn't read the documentation. Figured it out.
I keep telling people the quality of the Google Doc is fairly.
There you go. So you take a string, and you do .2js, and that makes a JS string. And then if you've got like a JS number, you do .2dart int, and that'll give you a Dart integer back. So it gives you there's just interoperability like yourself between the different types. So you choose when to essentially what's called boxing and unboxing the types between. I wonder if there's actually tutorials. How to mock JavaScript overview. I'll post this in the chat because there's lots of. I feel like I'm not finding the bit that I actually wanted to, which was showing you how you do callbacks and things. But again, it's very similar to JS, to Dart. It's in here somewhere, I'm sure. I'll post this link for those that are interested. It's definitely worth learning. Anyway, that was totally off where we were talking about. Yeah, is multi-window support on Flutter poll? There's polls and there's no update. Yeah, there's no update at the moment on when it's going to be resumed. Hopefully soon, because I really want that. In fact, I may have to put some code into it myself.
And we don't know that it's paused. We just know there hasn't been a recent announcement on it, but that doesn't mean they're not working on it like crazy.
It was officially paused, and they did say it was paused.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But it was in favor of working on having some of the team members that were working on it working over on getting. I just forgot the new rendering engines.
Impeller?
Impeller. There you go. Oh, just drew a blank. It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, and getting Impeller working on Android and so on and other platforms. So,
cool. All right.
I don't know. Hopefully soon. But again, make sure you put your notes down, push on the tickets, and I'm sure people will come back.
Yeah, that's one thing that you do as an individual is to go through the issues on the Flutter and Dart repos, because they're all public, and add stars or comments to things that are relevant to you. And that helps the people that do the prioritization in Mountain View figure out what the heck they want people to be working on. So please do that. Please participate by using stars and comments.
So we got an answer back on one of the questions we answered earlier, which was the web assets not being loaded. Some assets work fine, even in the deployed site, and the other assets that are not stored in the bucket or anywhere, I just added a folder and defined that in the pub spec. Well, I'm going to suggest that you didn't define the folder correctly in the pub spec because it would be added. It should also be an assets directory. And I think the problem you're probably having is, are you using I think I know exactly what's happening here. So let me explain. You're using URL strategy, the other URL strategy that gets rid of the hash, right? That's exactly what you're doing. So let me explain what happens inside your browser and why this is a failure, right? Okay. It's hard. Just stick with me. Stick with me. So when you have a relative path that is inside your browser trying to access an image, it'll be relative to the current URL that's in the address bar of the website, right? So if your URL is my site / homepage / or news / article 1, that URL will be relative to article 1 as part of the news section of your site, because that's where the directory is. That's in the path, right? So what can actually happen is if you're referencing assets and they're not referencing from the root, then when you go to load that content, it won't appear. It'll look like it's not found. What you want to do, Chromatic, is go look at the network tab in Chrome. So go open up Chrome DevTools, go to the network tab, and you'll see if it says it's trying to load the asset from the wrong directory. First of all, confirm that's not happening. And that could be happening because you're using the wrong URL, the redirect any URL back to the index.html, and the URL stays with the address bar like that. So this means that if you don't have the correct published path as the what's it called? Canonical URL inside the header. It's done. I think it's done for you in the new. When you generate a new Flutter web directory, it does it for you now. But if you're using maybe an old one, it's not in there. Anyway, when you build your site, you should add that, and that way all the references for all local assets will go through that URL instead of the one that was in the browser. That's how that solves referencing data. So that could be what's going wrong. And the other side of this is the ones that are being loaded and working could also just be ones that are cached in your browser. So make sure you clear your browser cache, at least do it in like an incognito or something, and validate it there. The other one is make sure that inside your pub spec, the directory in your assets has a slash at the end if you're trying to include the entire directory. If you don't have the slash at the end in pub spec, it will not include the entire directory. So do that, bear that in mind. What else? What else could be causing this? Yeah, I mean, I would also do a Flutter clean and a fresh Flutter build, because then you're guaranteed to make sure that the output directory from your build is what it builds now, and not you haven't got any old cached data in there or something old that's like, something else is broken, basically. If you do that and suddenly you lose all your images that you thought you were going to include, then that explains where you had some old ones that were cached, and that's what's getting shipped, and that's what's working. So, anyway.
And just as a possible one other sort of maybe wild possibility, maybe you tried running the program and the asset wasn't there, and something got cached about it being not there. So even when you added it, it didn't look for it.
So always check in incognito tab, because that way it's going to load. It's not going to use the cache. It's going to load it fresh.
Yeah. Okay.
Also,
we got.
So just for those that don't know this, if you open up, as soon as you open up Chrome DevTools, you actually get an extra hidden menu on your refresh button. For those that don't know. So if you open up your DevTools, I'm going to do this locally now because I don't remember how to do this. and then hit, is it Shift? I don't remember now. I had to right click. You can right click the refresh icon, and I guess it's like command click on Mac or something. And there's a normal refresh, hard reload, and empty cache and hard reload. So there's actually ways of forcefully, even in your normal browser, not in incognito, saying on this website, I want you to do this specific thing. It only affects that domain. So that can also be helpful.
Right. I wanted to talk about these IDX questions here. So please talk about Flutter and IDX, what can be improved. It's actually not bad. In fact, I find it really interesting because I taught a class, I think it was last month, maybe 2 months ago, where we were going to have everybody install a full Flutter environment. And instead, I had them up and running with IDX in 5 minutes, to the point where they could follow along with my 2-hour course. And I was also using IDX as a presenter. So I had my slide deck, and I was cutting and pasting those into my IDX window. Your next question is interesting, which is the emulator's crashing most of the times. I do not have that experience yet. Maybe I didn't push the emulator to its extreme. It's basically an Android emulator running in a web browser. So I'm sure that's pretty straight. And then why iOS simulators don't exist anymore. So here's the problem. I got to use IDX fairly early, and there was iOS there. But what it felt like to me was happening was that when I was making a change, it had to go off to some Apple machine in the cloud legally, because they can't run this on Linux. They had to go to an Apple machine somewhere that they were renting and had in the cloud. And apparently it was just doing a full rebuild. And you know how long that takes. And that it took that long before the hot reload actually happened. And it was a really, really poor user experience, not to mention expensive, crazy expensive for Google, because Google had to rent Apple machines in the cloud. And so I'm okay with them not having an iOS simulator in there. It would be nice, because it would be that last mile alternative for people who don't want to buy a Mac. But I'm fine with it not being part of the current offering.
Do you know what I miss in the current inspector that we have is the button that used to toggle the target platform. So you can actually press a button and you used to be able to toggle to iOS rather than Android, and suddenly all your app would know, oh, it's building on iOS, and all the UI would turn to iOS, or your scrolls would turn into bounce rather than, so you could get to build your app for both iOS and Android, and a flip of a button change between them to see how your app would work.
Interesting.
That needs to come back, and you can still do it, but it's just more difficult, and it just annoys me. So that button I miss right now. I think we should get that back.
Look at this. I made a Flutter app fully on IDX and released to Play Store. So far, the experience is awesome. Wow. Good for you. Good for you.
That's awesome.
I have no idea what the IDX pricing is going to be, or if it's always just going to be a loss leader. I kind of hope they're just going to keep leaving it free. But I doubt, you're running Linux instances. You're running machines back there.
They did this with Cloud Shell. So with the cloud, with Google Cloud GCP, right? Google Cloud Platform. They offered each account a Cloud Shell, which was a VM that would be running inside your cloud project, that would essentially be free, and then you could run any command you wanted to be able to use gsutil, gcloud, and all the rest of it to be able to maintain your cloud project through like a console window and like an SSH terminal session built into Google Cloud Terminal. They realized, that's not effective. It's just you're basically putting a VM on every user's account,
Right.
It just it becomes one of those things where it becomes a loss leader, and effective use is also nil, because everyone's set in their own ways. They don't want to change the way they're doing that kind of stuff. So it's a nice idea, but it has to be I want this. So then they changed it into like a pay for thing, like you can enable it on your account and then you're like added extra. I think it's still there. I haven't used it in so long, but I feel like this is the same thing. It's like it's going to be a loss leader to gain traction, see if people are interested, and then that will help them then to describe how they want to deploy it and price it, right?
So they might charge like $10 a month to be able to have an IDX account or something.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it's just one of those things where it's enough to cover like the occasional use of a cloud compute instance, which is nothing. So yeah, I think you're fine, and they'll probably do some sort of amortization of costs where some users like maybe Aru here would be using it through for an entire month quite heavily because they're building an app on it, and some will just use it occasionally, and that kind of evens out the costing so they can keep like the average monthly bill low and still be in profit.
Yeah, we got one other little question here. Will ServerPod be good? Can be good in the future? It's already good. It's already great. Take place in Node.js. It has for me. I don't do Node.js at all. So
I was gonna say you can just use Shelf and that replaces Node.js.
Yes, right.
I mean, yes, I'd say ServerPod is like, it depends on what you're doing. So Node.js and ServerPod are separate things, right? I'd say Express. What's it called? Expressive? I can't remember what it's called now. What's the Node NPM Express? I can't remember what it's called now.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know.
Express app. I forgot what it's called now. Oh, it's called Express. I think the package is called Express. Hang on, let me make sure it's what I'm thinking about. Yes, the Express package is what I'd say ServerPod best replaces, right? Because it handles routing, it handles a bunch of other stuff, right? Whereas Node.js is really the platform that's running it, right? Which is Dart in this case, right? Dart is a standard library, and the other libraries that you can include. That's Node.js and NPM, right? So, but yeah, in essence, Vinay. Oh, sorry, I'm terrible at it. Yeah, in any essence, yeah, you're right. It's already good enough to replace it. People are already doing that. So
yeah.
And sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on. What were you saying?
I said
I was going to click on it. No, we're not answering it. No, it's not good. It's not doing it. We're not talking about it.
Don't want to get sued. No. Don't want to get sued.
No, I just don't want to talk about it. It's not. It's not on the. We don't. It doesn't. It's not deserved to be on this channel. So that's simple.
Yep.
If I'm trying to communicate with JS for trading view chart in a web, yes, we already answered that. That's iframe will just work fine on web. You don't need a web view. Stop saying web view. If you're doing it on web, it's an iframe, right? And then you can switch your code to use a web view on the native platform if you make code that works on both, and then iframe on the other, using conditional imports is what we spoke about. Conditional imports is what we spoke about earlier. Want to just be clear? You asked what's next in Flutter. We do not work for Google. We do not work for the Flutter team. We are community members just like you. We've just been around a long time, so we have no idea what's next in Flutter. In fact, we do is releasing a roadmap, and you want to go look up the official Flutter roadmap, which I'll find a link for. That's officially what they're working on, right?
And I have access to some inside information, but I'm under an NDA, so it doesn't matter.
So am I.
Yeah. So no. What we know, we can't tell. What we tell, we don't know.
Something like that. This is the official roadmap. I'll put the link in the chat. And I think this is where they talked about multi-window as well. I think they actually said they're going to pick it back up. I can't remember what they said. But this is basically what their continued support is for 2024, what their roadmap is. A lot of it's around, they're doing a lot. I know they're doing a lot around work around FFI and Swift package manager and getting Swift in it. Here's about the Dart WASM-GC and JS interop and the work on that. Here we go. While we're expecting the majority of our time to be spent on mobile and web platforms, we're still planning some enhancements on desktop. We're hoping to make progress on supporting platform views on macOS and Windows. They did actually release it, didn't they? That was in the last version. They released macOS, I think. Anyway, and enable support for things like WebView. Yes, I think this is what came out just recently. Anyway. On Linux, we focus on GTK4 support and accessibility, and all platforms. On all platforms, we continue to work on supporting multiple views from the Dart isolate with eventual goal of supporting multiple windows running on one widget tree. So they do plan on doing that, but it's the majority of the time we've spent on mobile and web. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
That's the answer. And then
Cool.
ecosystem, what we're doing with that. The Flutter favorites, I'm on the ecosystem committee for Flutter favorites. I need to talk to them actually about this. So there's been a big push with Swift Package Manager, and we want to get the top 100 packages to start using Swift Package Manager so we can start progressing the community forward. And we'll probably end up having to put a requirement in Flutter favorites. Any of the Flutter favorites will end up supporting Swift Package Manager or something like that, right? And no hard and fast rule around that yet. It's still to come, but I think that's good. We also continue to collaborate with Google's IDX team to explore integration of their design tools and AI solutions and so on and so forth. Improvements to macros in the programming language, and we'll have 4 stable releases and 12 beta releases in 2024, similar to 2023. So they work on the same schedule. And then it does say non-goals. We're still not planning investing built-in support for code push or hot updates. For that, you should use Shorebird. And if you want server push UI, known as server-driven UI, you want the RFW package. There you go. So that's the roadmap currently as it sits. What about 3D rendering? We'll start wrapping up in a second. Sorry, Randall, just want to kind of get to the.
No, go ahead.
That's all. What happened about 3D rendering? It just got released and it's brilliant, and you should try it out. But what is the optimal use for it? Anything you want to do in 3D?
Yeah,
I mean, the answer is whatever you need to do in 3D. So there's several times where 3D might come into play. Where, i.e., a good example of this is like e-commerce platforms where they want to show a product in 3 dimensions. Now you can do that in Flutter, right? You can take the 3-dimensional pre-made package, I can't remember the name for it, and you can just the GLFT, whatever it's called, and you just that's it. You just load it and dump it and show it. We're using the Flutter scene system. Done. Simple. However, if you want to build games or other 3D experiences, AR, let's say you could take the Flutter GPU and the camera, put them together, and now you've got an AR experience that you can overlay on top. That's all done in Flutter and Dart, right? So there's lots of things that you can do going forward, and 3D opens up those roads. You say optimal, and I mean it's any use case for 3D. I mean, there's no optimal use. I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
When 2D isn't enough.
Purple. There is many packages that do multiple windows, but they all have their pros and cons and downsides and so on. What Flutter are trying to do is make it more imperative, more built in, and simpler to do. Those aren't simple.
Yep.
Right. I think we're going to call it there.
I think we covered everything.
Don't ask your questions twice.
Yeah.
And why is it so hard to create something so simple?
Welcome to reality.
Welcome to reality. Welcome to programming. I think this is the problem, right? I just want to briefly talk about this before we disappear, because this is like this is the crux of programming, right? This is like programming. What you perceive is just do X, just do Y, right? I'll give you this. Let's say a robot that needs to like move a box in a warehouse, right? From one shelf to the next shelf, right? It's like, for us, it's like pick up box, walk over, put box down, right?
Yep.
Because there's so much that's done for us in our heads automatically in our body. We didn't have to think about, where am I going to position my arm? Where am I going to position this arm, right? How much pressure should I apply? What is the material it's made of? How heavy is it? How should I put my hand underneath that? Or suddenly you start including all these different questions and steps.
We're using macros. We're using
Exactly,
macros. That's the point. We all got a macros running, yeah.
And you can remember that we all our experience is based off of our memory and what we've learned over many years of life, right? So we learned how to walk, so we just walk now. It just works, right? So again, I'm obviously using that robot as an analogy here, but when it comes to the same with programming, right? You look at programming, it's easy. I just do X, Y, Z. I just have it communicate with the server. I just have to do this. But when it comes to actually doing it, you're like, I need to do authentication. I need to send the custom headers. I need a system to do that with. Actually, I want to, I don't know, something that's one leads onto the other, leads onto the other. Before you know it, it's exploded into a whole realm of things to do. And the other thing to say is, like, computers are just very are calculators. They're really big. What we're talking about in our house is a massive calculator. I know people say that you may not see it, but at the end of it, all those the very tiny instructions it's running are literally mathematical operations, right? Logical operations. And because of that, and you have to tell it exactly what you want it to do. I know it sounds silly. It's like we say there's no bugs because you told it to do it that way, right? The source code, the thing that you wrote, told it to do it that way. It just did it. It wasn't like a problem with the computer. No, it's a problem with you in the way that you wrote it for the computer to take, right? But it's that kind of thing of it's hard because you have to think about all the possibilities. You have to think about all the ways something could go wrong, all the ways it could go right. You have to understand the code. You have to understand the flow. And I have to say, it gets easier with time, right? Like
yeah.
The more experience you get, the easier all of this, because it comes naturally to you, because you've got, as you said, you've got that learned behavior and the memory of those things, right? So again, don't stress about it, but you have, work hard, practice. And John Snape, it's building over it, exactly, right? It's ones and zeros. It's all ones and zeros. But you will get there, right? At the end of the day is practice, and you'll get there, and it'll come to you. And I can say that because that's where me and Randall essentially are, right? Like, we've been doing it long enough, right?
And as the old timer on this call, I gotta say, you kids have your ones and zeros. Back when I was starting programming, we only had zeros.
Or even worse, you had to punch it all out of cards for the computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine that, having to punch the zeros out of cards so that you could actually put them into the computer. Come on, we got it easy.
Right.
It is actually kind of funny because I remember writing programs without any syntax highlighting, right?
Yeah.
Without any IntelliSense, no drop downs, no suggestions. You had your manual and you had to type it, and then you compiled it. And if you didn't compile, you'd be looking at those errors trying to figure out what went wrong. And even then, when it runs, you just you'd have to raw memory. So you just.
I spent a decade with VI, not Vim, VI.
Yeah.
And then I discovered Emacs, and then I'm using VS Code.
Do you remember edit line, where you just edit documents in line by line?
I don't think so.
It was the days of this is before my time, but I remember using some DOS stuff in some batch files and stuff. But it would.
I didn't do that.
But you would have to. It was from the teletype days where you would have to type things in line by line. So you could edit a document line by line by going up a line. It would print out the line above. So you press up again and print out the line above. So you would actually edit stuff in the line editing mode, and it was just crazy.
Well, that's what VI was.
Yeah.
Basically.
And
EM.
We didn't do it because it's easy. We did it because we thought it would be easy.
And bin ed, I still remember bin ed because it only had 15 commands, all single letters. It only had 2 diagnostic messages: a question mark, which means I don't understand what you just said, or an exclamation which says something went wrong when I did it. That's the only 2 error messages to have.
People think, you think about when you're programming, you're like, why were the command parameters single letters? Why were these outputs it's because you didn't have the memory to put more.
Yeah.
It would be wasteful to put more. So you had symbolic behaviors, right?
There was a command in Unix v6 called DSW that you would go to the front panel of your PDP-7 and you would toggle in the inode number of the file you wanted deleted, and then you would run the command.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. DSW. Yeah. Look it up. DSW. Delete from switches.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was in Unix v6. Yes.
John Sheepers. Go check out the Z80 package I made on pub.dev. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. There's some other Spectrum packages also on the way. Anyway, but yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, it's and I've obviously had a longer career than you have, Simon. But I wrote my first code for hire in '77, so I have a perspective of things slowly changing in terms of technology, in terms of interaction. It still seems like it takes about the same amount of stress per day, though. I don't understand how that's not gotten any simpler.
It's because I think it's because, if I'm
Maybe we're
honest, like
doing more. I think I'm doing more. That must be it.
things are going faster. We're doing more, but I think like the abundance of CPU and memory having it's that problem, right? It's that whole problem of if you ran Windows 95 on a computer now, it would be super fast, right? Because it's using up not using up a lot of memory, it's not doing a lot of processing, right? So what we end up doing is because we've got the memory available to us, because we've got the CPU, we're very wasteful, right? In those terms, right? It's caching of assets. Great, there you go, perfect, love it.
Great.
Good to know.
My call was good.
Yes. But yeah, as I said, like right now, software development is really wasteful, but that's mainly because it has to move so quickly. You can write code that's very optimal. You can write stuff that is very small, but it takes longer, and that's what it took back then. Like you would like to deliver something, even some code to build something. You write in hand in an assembly. It would take you time. It'd still take you quite a bit of time to do. So, I don't think things take just as long now as they did back then, and if not longer, because things are more layered and complex, right?
Yeah.
There's so many layers of abstraction, and it just if we were programming to the metal like you did back then, things would be a lot simpler, a lot easier to develop. Hang on, in terms of debugging and working. However, I don't know if it would be any quicker, if that kind of makes sense. Like the running would be optimal, but the development would not be.
And also, when you think of it, it's like when I was building web pages in the late 90s, I had only, some limited level of JavaScript and HTML elements to play with. And so the page designs were a lot simpler. And now that I have all these complex things that I can do with animations and multi-layered and drop downs and sliders and all sorts of cool stuff, it's a much more complex layout, probably to do the same thing, but it isn't all just on two pages now. Yeah.
What was it? Damn it, I've got it. There's something you said there. It triggered.
Okay.
No, the thought's gone. It doesn't matter. That's it. We're just rambling now.
We're around. We should probably wrap up to be respectful of people's time.
Yeah. So you've just learned a valuable lesson, Chromatic. Do not use case in your file names. Lowercase only, separated with underscores. That is the format of all files in your apps. Do not forget this. Different operating systems will interpret case of files differently, right? They will find you can have two files in the same directory with different case, and that will be fine. Some operating systems not. It will be different. Do not do that. Having a minus symbol in symbols and names can also be treated as a special symbol, as in a mathematical operation. So again, you don't do that. Normally an underscore is preferable. So just to know, don't have any case don't have mixed case in your files. Don't. Put them all to lowercase, use underscores. Yeah, no worries. You're good.
And that's chromic, not chromatic. But
sorry, chromic, Johnny. Right.
You're getting extra letters in there.
Right.
Anyway,
thank you everyone for joining us. Same thing happened in for some databases. Again. Always force your case. Right. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you same time next week. And I've seen people probably promised live coding, but I'll see what I can do. I'm just so busy at the moment.
166 hours, what it would be. So we will see you in 160, actually 165 and a half hours.
That many hours. See you then.
Yes.
Ciao for now.
Yes.
Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye.